welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy from Emmy Evolving. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for finding me. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. So, just some quick reminders. If you'd like to learn how to work energy the way I do, please go check out my workshops. K33academy.com. If you would like to book private sessions with me, you go to emmyevolving.com. Also, on the 23rd, we're having a fundraiser for Soulwork Synergistics, my nonprofit and church. And if you want to go ahead and purchase some expedites, it's going to be featuring my K33 certified students. They're certified. Just go to that link right there on the screen, soulworksynergistics.com/store/SWS-fundraiser. So I asked what this reading was going to be about, and what I heard is rough patches forcing your growth. So you're growing. You're growing. You're growing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I will be going live later this evening. The link is already ready. If you would like to get readings, scans, or any type of energy work during my live expedites, please go to emmyevolving.com/shop/SWS. Okay, so growth. Yes, growth. Growth. Okay. Let me just get some cards. Alrighty. Oh my God. What did I just do? I just took my aggression out on my cards. Okay, they're fine. No cards were harmed in the shuffling. No cards were harmed. Some were bent, but not harmed. All right. Almost ready, guys. Almost ready. Alrighty. Okay. There goes. Okay. So, rough patches forcing your growth. For some of you, you might have noticed that you're entering into this space of a lot of what seems like unnecessary hiccups, unnecessary back and forth, unnecessary. Michael goes, do you want to emphasize unnecessary even more? Sure. Unnecessary drama type stuff, not necessarily issues with someone, but just seemingly unnecessary occurrences. And these occurrences are actually very necessary. It was just 12-12. These are the very first steps of your journey that's taking place. All right. So, all right. Oh my freaking A. Hold on, I must take off my sock to expose my long toes. I gotta grab the card that just flew. Yeah. Okay. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Okay. So foundation, homeland, foundation. There's things that's happening that's causing you to quite possibly question the foundation of some decisions. It's causing a lot of different things, if we're going to really be honest. You know what I'm saying? It feels like it's causing quite a bit of unwanted introspection. I don't know why that It's worthy of me making a spooky sound. But it's spooky. Unwanted introspection is happening. And I think it's because maybe you've become misaligned with the reality of what your soul is asking you to do. Maybe it's to, I don't know, gain a better understanding of what your soul wants you to do. I mean, there's just so many different reasons, but the foundations are being reassessed. Okay. Your foundation is being reassessed. And this process is going to lead to a union, a reunification of your parts. Um, it might be a return of some of your parts that are held by another person. Because for many of us, we go through this thing of trying to find ourselves only to realize that the reason you've been struggling to find yourself is because the part of you that you're looking for is, you know, it's in someone else. It's something that you're not going to find in you, right? You're going to find a reflection of yourself in someone else, and whatever this reflection is going to show you, it's definitely going to be very eye opening, right? So these rough patches, and maybe it's this thing of rough patches are really a way to bring your attention to the process that you're in, which is the smoothing out of your um, edges, right? I've said this before. Everyone wants to be a diamond, but no one wants to be cut. And after you're cut, I mean, that's such a viscerally felt process that oftentimes you're not willing to be polished after that. Because really, what's the process of polishing? Using varying degrees, varying grades of abrasive material, right? And so that's what many of us are going through, a period of abrasiveness. Not necessarily that you're being abrasive. For some, yes, you're being abrasive. For others, it's other people being abrasive to you. You're entering into a space of like um, elevated sensitivity. I don't know if that makes sense. Elevated sensitivity is the sense that I get. And as your sensitivity increases, it's going to take less and less from other people to make you feel um, very much rubbed wrong. Okay. So that's kind of the process that's part of forcing your growth. That's part of how your soul is pushing forward whatever divine plans that it has had for you. It's up to you if you want to comply or not comply. Um, and, I think it's important to note that you know, just because you are in compliance doesn't mean you won't feel some type of way. It doesn't mean that you won't feel upset or frustrated. Uh, it doesn't mean that you won't feel some kind of way, or it doesn't mean that you won't um, maybe shed some tears, right? So that's kind of the process. That's the process that many people are in right now. Um, this process is going to make you feel like you're exposed to the elements, that you're not um, being, I guess it's not unfair to say that you feel, for some of you, you feel as though you're not being taken care of in the way that you feel you deserve. Um, it feels like a lot of stuff going on when it comes to perception, perceiving that intensity and filtering it through glasses of trauma, like trauma goggles. You know what I'm saying? It seems like everything is kind of just stacked against you, but is it? Is it stacked against you, or are you more triggered by the deconstruction that's happening? You've been stacking your Lincoln logs and your little wooden blocks, trying to create a fort for yourself, when in reality, your soul is asking you to deconstruct that and get it out of your way so you can move forward. Right. So that's kind of some of the processes that I feel people are in right now. As part of that, um, almost like this sense of feeling overly exposed and, elevations in your vulnerability. It's, you know, it feels like you're not as secure within yourself, within your process. It could feel as though literally everything is going wrong right now, and maybe it is. Maybe it actually is. But that's how it's going to feel if what you want and what you're working towards is not in alignment with what you need and what your soul is trying to provide, right? So, so yeah, you know, if you can allow yourself that moment to feel whatever you feel, whatever frustrations, whatever whatever sense of like just whatever negative thing you're feeling, go ahead, feel it for a few minutes, feel it for a day, feel it for a reasonable amount of time so that you can acknowledge the reality of how you're feeling, but don't stay there. I think the goal is not to stay there. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think the goal here really is to honor what your need is, what your perceived need is. Like if you feel the need to be mad, go ahead. But to also willingly choose to transcend the basic, very base level type of emotions that rise as a knee jerk reaction to what you're um, perceiving as a disappointment. I have a very deeply held belief that when things don't work out in the way that I'm planning or trying, that's for my protection, right? That's kind of like for my protection. I might not understand why. I might get frustrated. I might have all of these different reactions to what this is. But at the end of the day, I'm in full submission. And it's almost like this thing of, soul knows better. I'll show you something. I'll show you something. So I'm sorry I was gone all weekend. Um, just a few developments. A few developments. Hey, girl, look at those biceps. Okay, you're not trying to find that what you're looking for is this. So you go ahead and you airdrop that to the laptop. Okay. Oops. Oh, goody. Goody, it came through. So this is something I want to share. I don't want to share the details of my weekend, but this visual I definitely want to share. So this reminds me of how things go between myself and my soul often. I don't want to comply. I don't want to do what I'm being told to do because um it forces me into situations that kind of force my growth. And, it is what it is. That's the reality of it. It is what it is. So, this is like a visual representation of Michael and my soul putting me in a panini press, a bad kitty panini press. Uh huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Who do you think I was in that scenario? which which one was I? Right? um there are certain things we don't want. Certain things that are uncomfortable. Certain things that push us beyond what we're willing to do, tolerate, grow through, whatever it is. But they're still needed. So, you know, I mean, does your soul need to, do an Emmy on you? Put you in a bad kitty panini? The panini press? You know, I see that. And it's immediately this thing of like, I know you had no choice but to put me in a panini press. I get it. I get it. I get it. I was fighting it pretty hard. Um, and it kind of just is what it is. I mean, were those two trying to hurt or harm the cat? No. Were they taking it personal that the cat was just so vicious? So vicious. Um, so vicious in its attempt to not comply with the necessities that, you know, were being forced upon it. I mean, were the guys trying to harm it? Is your soul trying to harm you? Is your soul trying to force you into something just to show you that you're not in control? Or is it you making it worse by trying to prove to yourself you're in control of a situation that you do not control? You don't always control your growth, because sometimes the growth that you need, the growth that you are scheduled to experience, goes far beyond what your limited perception of your capacity is. So I would say that cat did not have its owner there, and therefore the guardian in reverse that plays in. I would say that because it was being forced. I mean, have you ever tried to force a cat to do something it doesn't want to do? Good luck with that. You better have some anti-murder mitts on. I'm saying you better have some. And if I could kindly make a suggestion to the creator of those kitty gloves, if you could make it a little longer, elbow length, please, elbow length. If you could make it a full-on apron that goes up to the shoulders, protects the chest and the throat, that would be lovely. But yeah, feeling that sense of lack of security, lack of protection, lack of maybe advocacy. Yeah, heck yeah, it's understandable for you to want to fight back. Oh, ooh, Monica. Everyone thinks that bunnies are just so adorable and passive. I heard they're vicious. That it's not very common unless the bunny has been really acclimated from a very young age. Unless it's been domesticated very, very early. They're vicious. And it's just like they try and see, y'all are like, oh, but it's just a bunny. Um, I've heard lots of stories about bunnies being like that kitty cat. That's why I will never own a bunny. No. Hail to the no. Yeah, hell no. I don't want to be hurt by something so adorable. I just don't. I'm not down for that. I feel like you're a liar if you're gonna look super adorable and then have it in you to do that kind of viciousness to me. I don't wanna play with you. I just don't. That feels like a bait and switch. Michael So Michael says it explain years ago for one of my social media profiles, my screen my screen name because I wanted people to stop bothering me. Um, and I thought this would turn them off, but it just really opened me up to a whole different demographic. I had changed my screen name to Bangkok Bunny. Um, mm, that didn't turn out well. That didn't turn out very well. But he says that absolutely explains why I resonated with identifying as a bunny because they're vicious. They're vicious. So, part of what this process is helping you to see that you can handle whatever it is that life sends your way because you really can. Ooh. This process, if you can allow yourself to go through it. I know, Mindy, and it was horrible. I like looking back now, I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't realize the implications of that because I called myself Bangkok Bunny and set my location as Bangkok, Thailand, and then I put my gender as other. Now I realize like that was not okay. That was years ago. I would say like I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And the amount of just lewd messages that I got from that, and then the inquiries as to who my surgeon is, and I look flawless. I was like, "What? What do you I've never had surgery. What do you mean?" They're like, "Oh, are you still intact?" And I was like, "Um, I really should not have done that for my." Yeah, I didn't think it through. I didn't think that one through. I didn't mean to be hurtful, and then I had to apologize to everybody. That was worthy of apologizing. But yeah, no. Um he was very much there but silent as I did that to the profile. I left my pictures up. I left the selfie up, which was I should have just took that down. Is what I should have done. I should have left the name and everything alone. I should have took down all the selfies, which was maybe like 2 or 3. And, anyways, so all of this stuff that you're going through is leading to a space of fulfillment, right? It's definitely leading to a space of fulfillment, and it's something that it's what you really need. It's maybe not yet recognized as what you need, but it's actually what you really need. You know what I'm saying? Right. Um yeah, that was a time when I was completely off sugars, Mindy. And so I looked like maybe 17 or 18 years old despite being in my 30s. Yeah, so that took on a whole another like it was yeah, never again, never again. So protection in reverse. Oof. Okay. Protection in reverse along with a masculine in reverse. Don't project your insecurities that are being, you know, agitated, and because of that it's being allowed to rise to the surface. Do not project that onto whatever masculine. I don't know, it seems like there is some type of masculine Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your masculine. Um, Maybe it is. Um, uh, Maybe it's because we all have masculine and feminine energy. Math. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going too fast. My mouth can't catch up with my brain. Maybe this is part of your masculine energy. We have both feminine and masculine energy within us. We encompass both because we are a totality living as a perceived duality. So it's either you're rejecting parts of you, the parts of you that would stand up for you, right? Or you're projecting this onto someone, a masculine energy in your life, or a masculine energy that is being invited into your space. And because of that, you're like, oh, that's the perfect scapegoat. We're going to project this onto them. And don't do that. That's what your higher self is saying. Don't do that. Um, if you do that, then you're going to set yourself up for um, a lot of the different things that really there's nothing that you need to change about the situation. The situation is unfolding in the way that it's meant to unfold. And it's up to you if you're going to go ahead and allow for the situation to be what it needs to be, or if you're going to try and convince yourself that you know better than your own soul, and therefore you're not going to comply, right? So this is another thing that I wanted to show you guys because it's potent. It's definitely potent. For many of us empaths, we are very we're very committed to the ways in which we choose to traumatize ourselves. And then we are also very committed to the ways in which we will villainize our trauma response. And this is a very important thing.
The reason that I'm here on this earth is to change the way we define trauma. And I wrote this book because I've been researching trauma for almost 20 years, which is horrifying to me. We have the definition incorrect, and I'm not sure why none of the experts are telling you the correct definition. The trauma response is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your neurobiology is adapting to threat. It is not a sign that you are broken. So, this narrative that we're getting fed that we are broken is scientifically false. We need to redefine trauma.
Yeah. The way we perceive, the manner in which we are capable of protecting ourselves, the way in which we have been we have been conditioned and have learned how to navigate through traumatic environments. You're not broken. You're not. But the projection of this trauma response and the responsibility of that chosen response, it is in your hands. You cannot project that out onto someone else and blame them, right? I fully believe, and I'll play that video again to really make sure that everyone has an opportunity to fully integrate and hear what she said. But I fully believe that uh, modern science and modern psychology convinces us that our strengths are actually our weaknesses and diseases, pathologies that exist within us. It's not. It's only a disease when it becomes something that does not benefit you anymore, does not add to the quality of your existence. If it is detracting from the quality of your experience, which doesn't mean that everything is going to make everything easy, then yeah, it's entering into a pathological state. So let's play this again and really just maybe close your eyes and let yourself hear what she's saying.
reason that I'm here on this earth is to change the way we define trauma. And I wrote this book because I've been researching trauma for almost 20 years, which is horrifying to me. We have the definition incorrect, and I'm not sure why none of the experts are telling you the correct definition. The trauma response is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your neurobiology is adapting to threat. It is not a sign that you are broken. So, this narrative that we're getting fed that we are broken is scientifically false. We need to redefine trauma.
It's time to stop believing the people who are trying to convince you that the process you're in, the process that leads you to a more refined, more nuanced understanding of yourself, your capacity, your projected potentiality. This is what your soul is trying to show you you're capable of overcoming. Yeah, that needs to be redefined. It needs to be reassessed before it can be redefined. And as you reassess it, you can allow yourself to begin seeing and feeling the truth of the gravity of you. Okay. Um, ooh, yeah. Yeah, this right here. Interesting to hear that. I've noticed a discomfort with using the term trauma lately. It carries martyrdom in the form that it circulates in the media. Yeah. The ways in which I have redefined specific types of words and concepts, um, it makes it easier for me to identify the parts of me that need a little bit more of me without that shame. I once had a client tell me in a non derogatory manner, and I didn't take it as they were being derogatory, but they were like, I wish I was as shameless as you. And they mean, and they went on to explain this because I was like, oh my God, that's such an honor, and it's very humbling for you to see me in that way and for you to share with me the ways in which I've inspired you. But they went on to talk about, a little bit how I, they see me as someone who doesn't feel the typical type of shame sharing who I am, what I've been through, the ways it's affected me. And I have no shame about any part of my life because I don't. And to be using the word shameless, because my knee jerk reaction was like, whoa, like, oh my God, you know? But I allowed myself to set that aside and continue to listen. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's like the hugest honor because of my history of being someone who is just so hyper aware of the possibly negative ways in which people see me and being such a people pleaser for so long. It really was something that I needed to hear that so that I could redefine that for myself, right? Because reality is at this point, I don't have any shame. I just don't. I don't have the shame and I don't have the guilt. I am who I am. I'm not a perfect person. I try really hard. My masculine aspects are free to protect me when it's necessary, knowing that sometimes I allow that masculine aspect to rise up and speak on my behalf when it's not necessary, like lashing out, being snarky at times, and allowing myself to see like that's not something that needs to be put away completely, but it's also not something that needs to be left out willy-nilly. That is an important aspect of myself. Your masculine parts rise up when you feel very unprotected, left out in this space of vulnerability. It will defend you. It will, that's what it's designed to do, to defend you, to speak up for you. That's the part of you that is not okay with the trauma being forced upon you. That is the part of you that loves you enough to dig deep and find the courage to push back. That's not a bad part. But if it's left unchecked and unbalanced, it can absolutely become a bad part. Anything that's not balanced and not functioning in the way it's meant to function is not good for you. That's through all of creation. If you look at Cars, a car that runs too lean or too rich, too much fuel or not enough fuel, will not be functioning in its optimum way. It's just not. If you don't eat enough, your body's not going to function in an optimum manner. If you eat too much, it's not going to function in an optimum manner. If you don't allow your body to guide you and to serve as like um the announcement board for your soul, it's gonna this process is gonna be difficult. It's gonna challenge you. It's gonna really, really challenge you. I think you're up for the challenge. I think when you're not up for the challenge, you don't behave in that way. So, just it is what it is. Okay. It is what it is. Okay. So it's time for you to release the need to fight yourself. It's time for you to take that leap of faith into the unknown, into the spaces that will give you the space to grow, to expand your awareness of what you're capable of. I think for most of us, we have no idea what we're truly capable of. I think for most of us, that is a very accurate assessment. Um, as much as you think you know yourself, do you really? And this is not me trying to say you're wrong. This is me inviting you to go deeper into yourself, that process of involution for your evolution. It's huge. It's huge. Being able to really, truly see yourself is a big deal. Connect to the heart, but it's in reverse. So something got disconnected, right? It's probably ego based. Something triggered your ego in some way. And that caused you to kind of disconnect from your heart space. You probably went into protection mode, self-defense mode, and that doesn't serve you either. When it comes from your soul, it doesn't serve you. I think for many of us, what we struggle through the most is that we don't have the ability currently. We currently don't have the ability to distinguish, differentiate between challenges from other people, external situations, and invitations from soul. When it's soul inviting you to rise, that is not a threat to you. When other people are threatening to hold you down, that is a threat to you. They're two different things. But for us, for most of us, we receive it exactly the same. There's no differentiation, and that's why we struggle and fight ourselves. So something happened, it caused you to be disconnected from the heart. You need to reconnect. You need to allow yourself to see all the different things that are necessary, all the ways in which your soul is guiding you through this process, because it is absolutely guiding you through the process. Yourself and your soul are the pillars that hold you up. They work together cohesively. How can you have a solid foundation to place your roof on top of if you don't have the components that are necessary? You can't reject soul, you can't reject self. You need to be centered and balanced beautifully on top of both. And that will give you the shelter you need during inclement circumstance in life. Excuse me. I saved y'all from that audible audible pain. So yes, yes. You need to allow the two to connect, because if you look, the two are connecting, right? The two are connecting. They're meant to connect. Um, the alchemist in reverse. So this is telling me there's nothing about this process that you are needing to change. You can go ahead and enter into that mental space of thinking, believing, feeling, wholeheartedly assuming that you have to change this and this is That's what you're being tasked to do. I don't think so. I don't think so. I completely respect your decision, but just know that if you choose to go against the will of your soul, it's not going to be very good for you. It's going to be something that will challenge you in a way that's uncomfortable or full on painful. Reclaim. It's time to reclaim your proper place within your life. What does that mean? That sometimes what you have to do is simply observe from a neutral space exactly what your life is showing you about yourself, what your soul is showing you about yourself. We often will either exist in a space of trying to control, trying to dictate, or a space of feeling like we're just being dragged. Uh, both both suck. When you allow yourself to be centered in what you're experiencing, you then don't feel like you're being dragged. You might for a moment feel like this is unfair. I don't like this. But as you allow yourself to neutrally observe, you begin to notice the details that will, speak to you about why this is necessary. So I went through a process recently and I had made a decision. Um, I took the lack of alignment and the lack of opportunity to I took it and I used it to serve as evidence that it's time for me to choose to remain in the same space that I've been in. And I thought it was the right decision. Yeah. And it wasn't. And I was upset. I was very, very upset. I was very disappointed. I felt very toyed with. All of these just really negative emotions, which are valid. They are. But were they truthful? Were they rooted in the reality of what it was I was witnessing? When I allowed myself the time to process the negative emotions, and then I willingly chose to enter into a space of neutral observation, I realized because I had to rewind over the past um, maybe week or two and all the way up till that moment of realization, I allowed myself to neutrally observe. And I could have sworn I had said within the past week in a very, very defiant manner, Michael, you just tell me when it's time to leave. And so he did. I can be disappointed all I want. I can be frustrated and disappointed and hurt and really just whatever other negative feelings y'all can think of. But the reality is this: it's time. It's time. So it's time. And it will be whatever it will be. I am in full alignment. I am in full compliance. It just is what it is. And I need to focus my attention and my energy on manifesting um, whatever is necessary to remain in full alignment with what my soul is instructing me. Right? Yeah, I can still be frustrated, pissed off, all of that good stuff. But I still need to make sure that the lion's share of my energy and focus goes towards the manifestation of the components that are necessary for the next part. It is what it is. It is what it is. and the process is accelerated. The timeline is shortened. This will happen quickly. It has to. It has to. I could waste my time and be like, oh, that's not fair. That's not enough time. And waste more time. Or it can be what it is. And what is it? Whatever I actually need and don't yet understand that I need. I'm always kept safe. I'm always kept safe. And when I'm not in compliance with what will keep me safe, keep me out of harm's way, it's forced upon me. Not because soul is unfair, not because Michael likes to see me, struggling and fighting and hissing in a panini press. No, it's because I have a purpose that is profound and I need to be kept out of harm's way always. And so it's time. Whatever spaces I occupy now is no longer going to be what is the safest for me soon. Right? That could be within myself, my journey. That could be a physical location. It could be geographic. We don't know. We don't know. Ooh, that's rough. Mm. Once in 2011, I was allowed to see the outcome. That was once. Yeah. I was told to leave. I own my home in California. I was told to leave. To trust soul, get in an RV, and leave. And at first, I was on board. My children were healthy. And I asked for all of these specific signs, very, very specific. And I was given confirmation for everything I asked for, very specific. There was no way to deny it. And then I was like, you know what? No, no, I want to stay. This is my home. I want to stay. I don't want to go. I want to stay. And so we stayed. And then I got pregnant. So we had one more child. And within 12 months, my baby at the time, not the newborn, but the baby, um, he developed celiac disease. Yeah. And then a few months later, the newborn also developed quite a few health problems. I didn't understand it then. I 100% understand it now. I was being told to leave because a mile away, we live near a huge farm. They were doing aerial spraying. I didn't know. We were bombarded with glyphosate. It poisoned my children. If we had left, I don't know where my life would have gone, but I do know that my children would have their health intact. That I know for a fact. I know that for a fact. But I would not have known that had I not experienced that firsthand. So the reality is what I've learned from life as it's unfolded for me. When soul instructs you to do something, you have whatever tantrum you want to have, but you always comply. You always comply. Feel whatever you want to feel for as long as you want to feel it, but you always comply. So it would benefit you to be in full compliance with what your soul is guiding you to do. If you find that you struggle so much because you're probably fighting what your soul is telling you, will bring ease, will bring comfort into your life. I will only ever have that regret one time in my life. I will never again allow my preferences to be the very thing that harms my children. And I can be as angry as I want about the lack of disclosure from that neighborhood. The lack of glyphosate is known. It's a known carcinogen since the 60s or 70s. It's known. They know about this. And we ended up leaving California maybe 2 or 3 years later. And I happened to see class action lawsuit had been initiated in California. Class action lawsuit for health injuries caused by glyphosate. And I contacted those lawyers. They said I couldn't be part of the class action lawsuit because my child didn't die. My child didn't get sick enough. He didn't develop terminal cancer. So, as angry as I had a right to be, that shifted my perspective. That I should just be thankful. That when Soul told us to leave 2 years later, I was like, okay. Okay. And we left. When you're in alignment with what your soul is encouraging you to do, because at that time, I mean, oh gosh, I had so many people telling me, like, you're being so dumb. Don't sell. Why would you sell? They're opening a Tesla plant. 5 minutes from your house, they're opening a Tesla. You can rent it out for a ridiculous amount. And I was like, no, I don't want a stranger in my home disrespecting the sanctity of my home just for profit. We're selling. When Soul told me to leave, we decided to leave. And because we were leaving, I didn't want to keep it anymore. And you know what our realtor said? She said, I don't know if you're religious. I'm definitely not religious, but there's someone, something that's got your back up there. The day we were going to reduce the price of the listing, which she listed it aggressively, we got a full offer. We got a full offer, full listing price offer. And to make it even sweeter, It was a small business owner, and so they needed a 7-day close, meaning from the time we received the offer, there was money in our account, which, by the way, the value of our house doubled from what we purchased. Double the value. The way everything played out was just so beautiful. When you're in alignment with what soul asks you to do, beautiful things happen. You can still feel however you feel. You can still have that fear, that hesitation, that worry. But I tell you, it's in your benefit to embrace what soul is asking you to embark upon. It is always in your benefit. The people in your environment might not understand. They might criticize you. They might call you dumb. They might, all of these different things. Don't listen to them. They don't have the trajectory you do. Your soul knows exactly where you belong, and it is doing its best to get you there expeditiously. Listen to what soul has to say. We all want to be the sage, but don't want to go through the process to earn that right to see ourselves as a sage. You don't just get a title because you think it's cool. You don't. Titles don't mean anything if it has no substance. It just doesn't. I'm very particular about my expectations and the way I see the world. For example, not a lot of people know this because I don't really share it. But for a while, um, years ago, I was actually training to be a shaman. Years ago, early 2000s. I was halfway through and I was like, but what does it even mean to me? Am I just earning a title? What does it even mean? And so I opted not to continue. I found the name of the shamans from the lands I come from. And I felt, you know what? Unless I'm being taught by Baba Yan, um, I cannot allow myself to participate in that. What makes me a shaman is when I am medicine for my people. That's what a shaman is, the medicine, the bridge between the self and the soul for their people. And so I felt like it wasn't right, that I needed to be taught by an elder, a tribal elder, about my people's history and the power of my people. I was never able to find that. So I didn't continue with shamanism. There are many people who are taught, and it's not to say that their education is not valid, but I'm sorry, if someone from a completely different country, of a completely different geological lineage, is charging you to teach you about something that they are not necessarily part of, I mean, to me, that's kind of like, well, that's more like an ego title. I have no problem learning from other people's. But if I'm not going to be in a village with a village elder, the medicine of their people, learning in that village, um, I don't know. For me personally, that's not enough for me. It's not enough to just have a title. I need to be immersed in authenticity, just fully immersed. And again, this is my standard for myself, has nothing to do with my my belief that you're less if you're taught by someone else and don't come from that region. No, this is for my standards, for myself. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. Because I'm not here to simply exist in a human capacity. I began to realize, okay, I have many shamanic lives. And so my belief that if I'm not of that bloodline, it's invalid for that went away. And this is an important thing to hear. Sometimes the things that you're drawn to is because that was your bloodline in a previous life. Right? And so I began to realize that's why I was so drawn to shamanism, because for so many of my lives, I was the medicine for my people in various nations, so many different nations, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Sometimes I realize like the reason I, as a human, I'm a workaholic because my soul is a workaholic. Girl, you need a vacation, you know? And so I identified the root causation of that feeling that gave me that sense of a rough patch. And then I began to realize I'm not here to relive one specific lifetime in a specific bloodline. I'm here to retrieve all the bloodlines I've lived and to put all of that wealth of information together synergistically. And then to go and be publicly visible for all my soul family to find me. Because now what I offer in the classes I teach, it transcends the human existence and goes directly into the different layers of consciousness that your soul is presenting you. It's presenting these layers of consciousness to you as viable options to retrieve back to you, to bring it back home to you. And sometimes, in order for that to fit, there are parts of you, your character, personality, perception that need to be filed down, that need to be sanded in order for that to fit right back home where it belongs. The energy work I teach, it transcends human existence. There's a reason no one taught it to me. It comes from my knowledge, my wealth of knowledge through so many lifetimes. So many. It doesn't make me better than other people. It makes me more capable to serve. And that's the thing. These rough patches that you're going through, they are cultivating parts of you so that you could fulfill the purpose you were created to fulfill. You're not filling a role. That position, that purpose was created, and then you were created to fill it. That is your destiny. That's your destiny. This is your destiny unfolding. We're here to share the wisdom that we have acquired through this lifetime. And once we are aligned between the self and the soul, we will be sharing the wisdom that we have acquired through all of our lifetimes that are connected to this one. What you contain, hold inside of you, these worlds within your world, that will be allowed to rise to the surface. The word arouse is coming to my ears. Aroused, arousing those aspects of you, not triggering it. Aroused and trigger carry a very similar type of meaning, but it has a different layer of the way we receive it. Triggered has a more negative connotation, whereas aroused is something that's pleasurable, something that's welcome. You return back to your greatness. That desire is being aroused. Your intuition is being developed. Your intuition is being asked to wake up. It's being asked to come forward and be part of this process of bringing you back home to yourself. Now, you can go through this process with a lack of compassion for yourself. You can. Um, that's not a good experience. It's not going to be a pleasurable thing. It's not going to be something that inspires you to learn more and go deeper within yourself. It's just not, right? However, you perceive things is going to dictate the way you experience it. I have said that so many times, and I have gone through so much in life that continues to reaffirm that as an absolute truth. Having been homeless for a period, a long period, willingly, consciously choosing to live as a transient for about 3 years. Yeah, it was one of the most beautiful periods of my life. Other people would be like, oh my God, that is so sad. Oh no, you were homeless. And I'm over here like, what are you sad for? It was fun. It was amazing. My whole family loved it. Would we go back to that? Probably not. Just because as my children get older, they kind of want to, you know, be put in one place, stay put, right? They're tired of travel, nonstop travel. That's okay. I have to respect that because we didn't perceive it as something bad. We didn't experience it as something bad. We experienced it as a beautiful period. Even my youngest, a few months back, because sometimes he'll bring it up. He still remembers it, and he's like, "Remember our adventure?" And we never called it an adventure. We've never created a perception of what it was for our children. We kind of just lived through it with them. And they were the ones who created the definitions of what they experienced. So it was our great adventure. It was so peaceful. It was for my youngest, my littlest little. He's like, it was so peaceful, mommy. I was like, really? You liked it too? Yeah. But they don't want to live on the road permanently. So it's okay. I respect that. It's up to you how you're going to frame what you're experiencing, whether you're going to receive it as a positive or you're going to choose to see it as a negative. It's up to you. But this lack of compassion for self as you go through this process, is it's a process. It's not going to make it easier for you. What will make it easier for you is your awareness of your self worth and how this process is designed to increase your awareness of what your self-worth actually is, right? So you don't have to be grateful. When you're not grateful for the process you're in, you're going to probably compound the issue. You're going to create more of a negative perception. And again, these are all choices we need to make for ourselves. There's no one choice that is more valid or more correct than another. It really just depends on how deeply you're planning to learn this. Excuse me. The more negative your perception, the more pronounced and the deeper your learning will become because it's going to create more hardship for you. And as more hardship is created, more opportunities to learn will come forward. You're going to learn it on a much deeper level. So it's up to you. Unconditional love. Loving yourself as you go through the process you're in is crucial. It's very, very crucial. Again, it's up to you. Um, you know, there are certain things that your soul will allow you to push back over, where you're like, no, I don't want to. Well, that's fine. Your soul will be like, all right, give them time. And then there's other things where your soul is going to be like, sit down, little person. Little girl, sit down. And then you're going to be forced to sit down. Okay. This is not something you need to overcome. This is something you need to experience. Overcoming to me, it's almost like, um, this feel of something that is very bad for you, and you're overcoming it, you're climbing the wall and getting out of its reach, right? So it's like something that your soul is not allowing or doesn't want you to experience, but you got, bamboozled in some way, shape, or form, and so you got to overcome that. It's not something you have to overcome. This is something you have to be aware of. You have to witness it. You have to allow. Um, you have to be as present as possible. So again, it's a request from soul to shift that perception. Abundance sigil. You're going to be abundant in learning. You're going to become abundant in grace for self, compassion for self as you go through this process. Whatever you're deficient in, this process that you're entering into, that's considered a rough patch, it's going to address the things that need to be smoothed out. So, being very present will probably change your entire life if we're really going to be honest. I feel like your soul is preparing you to change your entire life and enter into spaces of um, wealth that you deserve, wealth of health, wealth of love, right? Being very, very rich in life, not just money. It's probably going to also translate into money, but just being very, very wealthy in the way you live, you know? Um, Not necessarily illuminating manuscripts. Some are. We have to be careful about living in absolutes where we see things only as one way. I remember one time I was doing my sister-in-law was a makeup artist for I think she was a makeup artist for Chanel. I don't remember, but it's a counter makeup artist, right? There's a difference between a counter makeup artist, which is primarily a salesperson. She's very good at makeup too, though. Um, a counter or a brand representative, brand ambassador, is functioning as a salesperson, your corporate, your sales. Whereas I was a freelance makeup artist, meaning I'm in this industry being paid for my artistic vision and my ability, my skill to bring that vision into fruition, to make it manifest on the face. So there were two different types of makeup artists. And I remember one time, um, she had lots of makeup, like lots. Oh my gosh. And she asked me to do her makeup. We were just hanging out and she asked me to do her makeup. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was doing her makeup and I was trying to do this specific type of look. And it made me very like, I don't want to anymore because she kept like leaving one eye open, like, oh, no, no, that brush is only for this. Oh, no, 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 that color is only for this part of my face. And I'm like, you know, um, I gotta go. That's how it worked. I partially did one eye and I was just like, I gotta go. I couldn't. I couldn't. Because really, you can wash the brushes. You can get those pigments out. You could wash it. If you want to have the same face that you do every day, which gorgeous, she's gorgeous, then you should just do your own makeup. But if you want to see something different, you need to allow me free range of your supplies, your equipment, so that I can show you something different, different than what you always have, right? So obstacles are placed in your path specifically to be overcome. And that's partially true, right? It's partially true. I believe some obstacles are placed in your path to redirect you because your soul is like, oh, no, no, you don't want to go down that path. That's a boo boo type of path, like you, right? So we have to be careful about perceiving life and processes in absolutes, okay? I'm not calling you out on your poop. I'm not calling out on your poop. Oh, I'm just saying that we have to be flexible in the way we see our life, right? More like encouragement. Encouragement. So, card number 48, self sabotage. If you're not flexible, that can eventually lead to self sabotage, where you're not allowing your process to unfold in the way your soul is designing it to unfold. Um, if you allow yourself to understand that you don't have to go through this thicket, you don't have to keep challenging yourself in that way, then things become easier. They become much easier. I used to fight my soul until I enter into clinical depression. Michael said it's important for you to know. I don't know why, but I trust him. That's how badly I would fight my soul. I would fight until I'm completely mentally, emotionally, literally broken, non functional. And I would be in a very pronounced period of clinical depression. For those of you who've been clinically depressed, you know how bad that is. It's not just feeling sad, it's like, uh, you gotta not ever leave me alone because it's not safe. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. If you struggle through periods of depression, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to negate any type of medical advice you receive. I'm saying maybe there's another aspect that you need to see, you know? I typically don't enter into clinical depression anymore because I will only fight so much before I'm like, okay, fine, 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 fine. I'm just joking. Okay, soul, I will do what you said. I will do what you said. Relax, relax. You know? So I typically don't enter into clinical depressive cycles anymore. It's time for you to return back to your royal space. Sit back on your throne. You know, yes, the king or queen is the final decision maker in a kingdom, but a king or queen is never without an advisor. Are you aware of that? They don't make decisions without knowing the different components and the different options that are involved. Your guardians and guides are the advisors. Your body is the space that your guardians and guides use to communicate with you. Blue ray awakening in reverse. So there's perceiving, thinking, assuming that you're going through an awakening. And then there's the reality that you are being made heavily aware. A lot of people think that this awakening process, this ascension process, is like you maybe just doing some meditations or something, or some chants, or getting a crystal. I saw Amazing Process, right? The crystals arrived. I hope you love them. um and then assuming that you know exactly what this is, right? Like, oh, you got this, you know what it is. And you know, it's just because you've chose it. I have never experienced an ascension cycle like that. Ascension cycles are not chosen, they are recognized. Ascension cycles are typically viscerally experienced. The pain of it, the pain of the tearing of the confinement that you've been living in. I mean, you're like this little sausage and the casing is tearing. Because now soul is making you aware you're actually not a sausage, you're a patty. And a patty must be expanded. Sometimes what we believe about ourselves is not the truth, you know? Ascension is about us recognizing what the truth for us actually is, our truth, what it actually is. And oftentimes it's not what we think. Part of one of my ascension cycles was the realization that I am not destined to be an allopathic doctor. I'm not destined to be a neurosurgeon. Uh, that was hard to accept. That was very hard to accept. I felt like a disappointment to other people because my entire life I'd been groomed to believe that I would become a neurosurgeon. Well, I chose neurosurgery as my chosen field of expertise, with a secondary field of expertise in being an emergency department doctor, because I heard those were the badasses of the hospital. So I wanted to do neurosurgery and then moonlight as um, an emergency department doctor. And yeah, mm, it's not what I'm supposed to be. But that doesn't mean all of the education that I had invested in myself to learn about human anatomy, biology, physiology, cellular machinations, all of those different things, pathology, uh, those those classes were not wasted because they serve the purpose I'm here to actually fulfill. And in order for me to reach that place, I needed an understanding, a very pronounced understanding of at least the basics of cellular biology, anatomy, physiology. I needed the basics. And so there was nothing, no point in my life that was wasted. Not my education, not my decision to not continue my education. And part of the sense of being disappointed in that realization that I'm not destined to be a doctor of some kind was this continuous accusation by loved ones that I had wasted my life. I wasted my value because my value is contingent on my ability to earn a piece of paper that says to other people that I have value. That's not true. You're so much more than what you realize. It's not true. Now, I do want to frame this with a very distinct statement. In specific fields, professional fields, you absolutely need an education. You absolutely need that degree. And if those are the fields you're choosing to be part of, you better keep going to school. You better keep going. But there are other fields that don't. And so if you're just earning the degree to be worthy, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it's necessary. I don't know. I don't know that it's for me to tell you whether it's necessary or not. I don't know. I just know that my perception of myself at this point is I am not someone who gave up on my purpose. I am someone who went through hell to understand what that purpose is. And although I do not have any certificates or degrees, I will still forever be one of the most highly educated and intelligent people that most people will come across. It's okay for me to understand that. It's okay for me to not be able to prove that. There are going to be certain times where I will need to have someone who does have that degree and the papers and all of that, and my association with them who is traditionally educated will be necessary. I feel like there's value in everything. This is me letting you guys know follow your heart. If your heart tells you you need the official education with the papers and certificates and all of that, do it with your entire heart. Do it. I know in my heart I will continue to love learning because I still audit classes for Ivy League colleges. I don't get certificates for them, but I complete the courses for my continuing enrichment, personal enrichment. What I'm doing cannot be quantified by any governing body as of yet. So there's no paper that I can earn that will validate what is already valid by virtue of the decision of divinity itself. I am already valid. And I might need to spend the rest of my life coming to terms with that, but I will. I will continue to work on that. I will continue to find the spaces that exist within myself that give me permission to value what I can do and my intelligence, even though I lack that piece of paper. Because in my culture, you better earn that paper, yo. I'm serious. You're an embarrassment to the family if you don't have that formal education. That's the reality of my culture. You know, that's the reality of it. I love my cousin because one day she told me, because I told her, yeah, I've restarted classes. Now I'm actually, I'm going to the distance classes at UC Berkeley to finish up my credits to matriculate and apply for medical school and stuff. And she's like, ooh, cousin, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, might as well make something of myself. And she goes, I mean, medical school? I was like, yeah. She goes, don't get me wrong. You're so smart. You could do it easy. But are you sure you want to be a doctor? And I was like, why? I don't, what do you mean? She goes, you're too talented. You would make a better nurse than a doctor because the nurse actually takes care of the patient. The doctor comes in for a few minutes and then leaves. They don't really interact with the patient. I was like, oh, you're right. And then she's like, do you even want to be a nurse though? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. You're a nurse. My whole family are full of nurses. They're all medical professionals with degrees. And she's like, if you're a nurse, you have to do what the doctor says. Really? She goes, yeah. Like you have to do what they say and you can't correct them in front of the patient. And I looked at her and I was like, so I would lose my license in the first week, huh? She goes, honestly, yeah. We have to be realistic about who we are and the way we function. I'm not designed to fit in a system. I'm designed to deconstruct the system and create a new one. And I have to be honest with myself about that. The moment you become honest with yourself about that, you invoke the highest level of protection. That is the highest level of alignment you can achieve between the self and the soul. And when you align in that way, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All the attempts at dark interference dissolve because the light within you begins to emanate from you. And there's no amount of darkness that could ever silence the beauty of your truth. Those rough patches are growing you. Ooh, this right here. This right here. Ooh. From a very young age, I had very high expectations placed upon me, and it distorted my sense of self. Now I learn about the things I love, not what others think I should be learning. Ooh, ooh, I felt that. I felt that so deep. I shared before how my mother brought me with her to Monterey Bay for the week to attend a conference on continuing education since she is a registered nurse. Uh, Medical professionals have to continue their education through their entire career. So they need a specific amount of credits every year in order to, you know, renew their licenses. And my mom brought me to this conference, and I still remember it. It was a conference that was specifically on in vitro fertilization and the high risk neonate. Mm. I fucking loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I think I was either in first or second grade. I don't remember anymore. But I was either in first or second grade, and my mom pulled me out of my elementary school for the week so that I could go with her. And she thought that I just wanted to vacation with her. But in reality, I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn. And so I did. That was in the 80s. IVF was brand spanking new. No one knew about IVF yet. And because my mom was a charge nurse for the NICU, she chose that because of the high risk neonate aspect of that. Because IVF was becoming something that was going to be broadly used, offered to the general public. If you have enough money, you could go ahead and go through IVF. She needed to learn about the potential risks of the high risk newborn that was an artificial insemination. It was profound. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it because I still specifically remember there was a video presentation where they took a high powered microscope and they recorded exactly how they inseminate, exactly how they do the in vitro fertilization, and then how they inseminate the potential carrier. It was profound for me. Like, the way they harvest, the types of hormones that are used in order to be able to harvest, to ripen and harvest multiple eggs at one time. I was like, ah! As a child. I mean, forget social studies. I'm learning about IVF. But that's the thing, though. I mean, what's your passion? What's your passion? Do you know what it is? Or is it what someone told you? I remember fulfilling my high school credits because I went to a private high school that required 40 community hours. This is where you volunteer your time for an approved type of organization in order to receive the credits that are necessary to graduate from high school. And so my mother worked the graveyard shift, and on the summers, I would often go with her to work in a county hospital, and I would assist in the NICU. I would feed all the babies, sick babies. uh, yeah. And I thought I loved it, but I loved it because my mother loved it. Now I could not go to a NICU. That would break my heart. That would break my heart. It was a county hospital. The amount of babies that were born with addiction. The pain of their withdrawal. The shame that their mother would feel. It took me a very long time to realize that was not my passion. To realize I'm just highly empathic. And I wanted to please my mother. And so I was going to continue in the same fashion that she existed. The process of learning who you actually are is a painful one, because you begin to realize how much you have betrayed yourself in believing you are what other people have told you or expected you to be. These rough patches that force your growth, they are the very experiences that cultivate your true awareness of your most authentic self. It absolutely would kill me too, Shell. If I ever volunteered in a NICU again, I would interfere. I know I would not be able to help myself. I would interfere with every child's journey. That's a violation of sovereignty. It's not allowed. So now's a time for you to begin recognizing the ways in which you have allowed things that is not allowed, that you have allowed yourself to be convinced of things about yourself that's not allowed. I think life is about to change for those who are understanding what this reading is trying to tell you. You're being prepared for ultimate change. And in order for your life to change to that degree, well, you would need to let the life you've known be shed. You would need to allow it to fall to the wayside so the real you could emerge. I've said before, the price you pay for your new life is often the cost of your old one. Why are you afraid to let go? Not everyone in your life right now is meant to walk with you always. It's a scary thought, but it's a reality. Real, genuine love should never exist as a cage, nor should it be used as shackles. True love will always encourage, empower, and serve as the fuel to rise to spaces of freedom that the person you love has struggled to reach their entire life. So, can you love yourself to that degree where you allow your fear and your anger at being forced to grow to serve as the fuel for you to rise? For some of us, the only place we can get the fuel to rise is deep within ourselves. That the people in our environment, they're not authorized to access that depth of fuel. I used to think I was an angry person. I can be. You know what it is? Fuel that can never be depleted. If you have the fuel, you can never be stopped. You will continue even when you don't have your environment's permission to continue. So go. Do what you need. Recognize your needs so you can do what you need. Everything's going to be fine. It might hurt a little bit, but I mean, what good workout doesn't hurt just a little? If you're doing it right, it's going to burn a little or a lottle. But that burn is the evidence of the process. Ooh. I feel like I've become an angry person because of this rough patch. Have you become an angry person? Or have you developed the awareness for the recognition of the amount of fuel you have? I think if you allow this process to continue, you'll begin to realize what shifted is not you becoming an angry person. What shifted is your awareness of how much fuel you have access to. Ooh, I'm saying, but you have to keep going, or your awareness and your perception doesn't continue to develop so that you can get to a point where what you are aware of can be beneficial for you. It's all a process. Baby steps. Baby steps. Anger is a tool. Anger is typically grief unrecognized, unheard, unacknowledged. Anger is a tool. Absolutely. It serves as fuel if you know how to use it. And if you don't know how to use it, it will burn you rather than be burned as fuel. I say this as someone who used to identify as an angry person. Ooh, let me tell you, I got a temper. Let me tell you. Now I realize that temper is malleable. There's a spigot in it. I mean, are you one of those people that wash your hand with a water full blast? Come on now. Conserve. So I learned when that anger rises, it needs to be released in some way. Sometimes that release needs to be a confrontation with someone else, because if they add a line, they need to know where that line is. Sometimes that anger that needs to be expended through mechanical movement of the body. Sometimes it's just something you need to sit in for a little bit. Learning yourself and what you need to do with yourself is crucial for this period. And I think many of you are being taught through life experiences, through frustration, through the negative emotions, exactly what to do with yourself. You got this. You'll be fine. And you're not going to be fine because nothing's going to happen. You're going to be fine because you're going to choose to be. You're not going to ignore what's happened. You're not going to tell yourself you're not valid. You're going to go through what you go through. You're going to feel what you feel. And then you're going to tell yourself, I'm still a good person. All of this is showing me something about myself. And I just need to focus on what I'm supposed to see. And then you're fine. That's how the process goes. You will be fine. Maybe not right away. If you choose to drag it out, it's going to come on now. It's not going to feel very good. But if you choose to be in full compliance and really just observe, it doesn't last too long. I got my ass handed back to me this weekend. Let me tell you. I didn't want to talk about it, but yeah, I pretty much spent the weekend crying. Yeah. Am I broken? No. I'm fine. Am I fine because I ignored? No. I'm fine because I was fully present in what I was feeling and I validated those feelings by allowing myself to feel it, recognizing they are valid feelings, but that's not where I belong. Where do I belong? My soul is showing me. It's showing me. Let your soul show you, and it will be fine. It will be fine. So, guys, I will be live later on today. I want to say 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be doing expedites. If you would like to be part of that, go to meevolving.com/shop/SWS. So work special. And you could get expedites. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. Join me when I'm live. And I will see you guys again tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bye, everyone.